welcome to episode 82 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and this week I am joined by Brian, and we have Kev for a little bit. He has to step out at a certain point as he's going to a wedding. We are three artists, illustrators, filmmakers, and all-around shit talkers, and each week we take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Amazon Prime, Spotify, wherever you get your content. We take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we talk about it. This week we're talking House of the Dragon, we're talking Old Man, we're talking The Bear, as well as all the regular Marvel and Lord of the Rings and whatever fantasy and nerd news is going this week. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast, heading over to iTunes, rating, reviewing, following us on Spotify, doing anything and everything you can to help spread the word over the endless stream. All that stuff really helps us out. On top of that, you can head over to Instagram at The Endless Cast, where we put up artwork and clips to go with each episode, or you can send us an email at theendlesscast@gmail.com. Email and Instagram are a great spot to tell us what you think of the episodes, or suggest something for us to watch, or disagree with our opinions. It's a good place to make contact. All of that being said, let's get into the episode. Kev's home for a wedding.
Yes.
Brian's home because that's where he is. I'm home because that's where I also be.
We're all home. We're all home. Lovely.
The one of us has somewhere to go, and it's Kevin.
Third wedding. In 4 weeks.
I maintain people don't like each other this much.
Yeah. It's tough going.
I'm tired and my voice is...
What's the bear's name on the bottom of the screen?
In my camera thing? In me? Where I am?
Kevin is the bear in the center of the screen. Yeah. And the bear,
Thank you, Aidan.
The bear to the...
Thank you. And the teddy bear?
I don't know if these are... I'm in my mum's. I'm in my mum's. Oh, is that what you wanted, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been called a bear for years. So I'm okay with it. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. I've been called a bear in multitudes of different languages as well. Most of them. Yeah. Madva. That's what they used to call me back in the gulags. Madva. Mirkash Msekada Madva.
How was the week, Kevin? Anything exciting happening?
No, nothing exciting ever happens to me. Just more sadness and misery on top of my already sad and miserable existence.
Contentment check?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm doing really well. I can't really complain. Sure, I'd like things to be a little bit smoother in my life, but whose life is super smooth? We're all like, a little bit crunchy, a little bit, we all got bits in us.
We all got a little bit of crepitus building up in the joints.
We're like the crunchy peanut butter. That's smooth.
Crunchy is better.
It is better, yes, of course.
Yeah. Crunchy is way better.
Crunchy's way better. Orange with bits is better. Aidan, you don't agree?
Yes.
Orange with bits is better, buddy.
Aidan,
agree. Yeah.
It's not much of a podcast if we're all agreeing with each other all the time. So speak your mind. Speak your mind.
I don't like that slimy shit sliding down my throat. I don't like volume. I don't like pulp in my juices. Too much anyway. Yeah, those machines they used to have in supermarkets where it would just feed in a couple of oranges and put out orange juice for you?
Yeah, they still have them. Supervisor beside me has them and I fucking love it.
Huh. I haven't seen one of those in fucking years.
That's
anyway, that juice is great.
Shopping.
I do my own shopping.
It's funny because...
You have your butler do it.
I have had it delivered. Make it sound like a bad thing.
That orange juice, when I buy it, I think it's pretty expensive. It's more expensive than if you buy a cart.
Well, it's actual oranges.
But it's actual oranges. And I'm also the one putting the bottle there, all this kind of stuff. I'm doing half the labour. Why am I paying more for that? Bullshit. Yep. That is pure orange juice.
Best orange juice I ever had was in Marrakesh. Good God. I don't know what they put in it, but stuff is good. If you go to Marrakesh,
try the orange juice.
For any reason, get the orange juice in the market square. In fact, go there just for the orange juice.
If anybody could, if anybody's listening from Marrakesh, let us know what your juice is like.
I'm just telling you. I just told you.
Yeah, but what's it consist of?
It's oranges.
Just oranges? Or maybe it's just a climate thing. Maybe their orange production is better than ours. Do we grow oranges here, do you think?
Do we grow oranges here? I'd say there's, you might have some fools with a greenhouse somewhere doing something, but we don't have the climate for it, right?
I don't know.
Presumably.
I mean, we grow strawberries. Why couldn't we grow oranges?
Tropical fruit.
Because
needs a particular climate. Again, we could probably force grow something if we artificially create the conditions, but like,
Technically,
is it
strawberries
gonna
not even a fruit.
Because its seeds are outside.
I don't know if that's true, but I just said it, so let's
Say
say
it
So
is.
we're fruits because our seeds are inside us.
Yep.
he's a fruity bear.
Speaking of bears, I did watch The Bear.
did you watch all of The Bear? Okay, I've got 2 episodes left of The Bear to watch.
I enjoyed it.
I have not watched it.
You just like it because your dad.
It's not my.
Because it reminds you of your dad.
Oh my god, it does not. Please watch the show before you say that. They're all messes. They're all very.
He's far too attracted to the lead for the guy to be his dad.
I think the lead.
He's very attracted to his dad. He'd tell you that himself.
Yeah, well, that might be egotistical because I look very much like him.
Exactly.
Right.
I was gonna say, but no, I think the guy in The Bear looks like someone kind of. It's like Tobey Maguire and Nicolas Cage had a son.
I was thinking he's got a kind of a bit of an Adrian Brody thing going on. He does have this very sort of long face, and long nose, especially in like dead straight on him when he's got this little look down.
I think it looks like someone got a Nicolas Cage kind of clay model and tried to turn it into Tobey Maguire's face, whilst looking at a picture of the guy who's playing Craven in Spider-Man.
I see that as well. Yeah, what's his name?
Aaron something, isn't it?
Aaron.
Aaron
Taylor Johnson.
Taylor Johnson.
Poor chap.
Allegedly.
Yeah, well,
What? I missed a thing.
Yeah, we should probably just not even touch it.
no.
What was alleged?
Nothing. We're not touching it. Yeah.
I'm not making
Get over it.
assumptions.
Suddenly Brian realizes he might have to edit the video, so we're not going to talk about them.
Poor old cracker.
Oh, right. Well, hold on. Let's talk about The Bear, because we talked about The Bear.
Yeah, but I haven't seen it, so move on.
The Bear
Yeah,
is
that's a
good.
joke.
I'm looking
So
forward to
is
season 2.
Keep talking.
I was going to say, I kept scrolling past it because it looked like Aaron Taylor Johnson was playing Marco Pierre White, and I have enough food-based content going on in my house. Anyway, with my mother's job, I'm sick to fuck of food things. But I think 3 people in the space of an hour told me I should watch The Bear in separate fucking conversational channels, so I went, alright, fine, I'll watch it. And it's really good. It's Hiro Mirai is involved. It's got Christopher Storer, I think is the name on the end of it. I'm just trying to remember that, rather than pulling it up, so I could be wrong. But it's created by, written by, directed by, and I do like when somebody manages to do that successfully. It can be pretty fucking great. Someone compared it to Firefly in a weird sort of sci-fi correlation, where it's like it's a group of people in a confined space having to work together and fighting with each other and stuff. And in that as well, the cinematography choices are great. Like, it's real compressed lenses and depth of field stuff, so the place feels tight. They feel on top of each other the whole time. And it's got a really great energy. Like, even the fact, like, there's great music choices, or I like the music choices, but it's also kind of persistent. So it even makes it feel more sort of claustrophobic, that there's just always noise.
Oh god, yeah. If you ever, I'm sure you've been in kitchens, Aidan. Brian, you definitely have been. You've worked in hospitality, but yeah, they are fucking hectic as fuck. I never forget my first job in a kitchen, and then like going back to school for September or whatever, and thinking to myself like, oh, thank fuck that's over, and then like the realization that that's my dad's life every day, but he loves it.
I mean, it's many people's lives. Like, we all pick sort of the toil that appeals to us best. Do you know what I mean? I say that we all do, but like we
pick it. What?
Some of us lean towards it. I mean, the work that you do, Kevin, is very focus intensive, and you're drawing even in like you clock off, you go home and you draw and prep for the next thing. It's cool. It's a cool show. It's nice short episodes as well. The guy from Andor is in it playing the cousin. I don't know if you've watched Andor yet.
Microchip in Punisher.
Which Punisher?
The John Patel one, wasn't he?
John Bernthal?
Oh, yeah, that's what I said.
I don't remember.
Speaking of that, he's actually in it too.
I was surprised by that, yeah.
You were surprised by it. Why are you surprised by it? Surely you can't be.
Because this was just...
He's surprised when he shows up in everything, or just this particular thing?
So, I was watching this show going, I don't know what it is, but that's the way shows are. Here's a brand new show. That guy seems to be the lead. It's an FX thing. let's just let this show be a thing. A whole cast of people I don't know. And then all of a sudden, there's Joel McHale, there's Oliver Platt, there's John Bernthal. So it's got these cameos of people coming in and out of it. I'm like, oh, holy crap, there's a lot of people popping up, and I like all of them.
Yes, but yeah, he was Microchip in The Punisher. Do you know Microchip?
I don't remember him.
Oh, okay. When I put it...
the Netflix show The Punisher, I don't think of him as having the sort of guy in the chair. Can't remember that. That got 2 seasons or 3 seasons?
2. 2, definitely. Anyways. But
you're not talking about one of the movies, right?
No, I'm talking about...
Yeah, it's the guy who's got the footage, and he's got all the surveillance footage and stuff.
Oh,
remember that plot line?
No. I just remember him beating some people up in a bathroom. That is the extent of my knowledge of The Punisher. And I watched both of those seasons.
Okay.
I just remember the bathroom scene in season 2. And that he used to bark a lot. He would go, wow, and then beat the shit out of people.
Yeah, that got old.
DMX. Ow, ow. Yeah, my dogs. Exit wounds with fucking DMX and...
He was a werewolf by night. Bear's pretty fucking cool. I'd say watch it.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to Robbie Coltrane.
R.I.P. to Cracker. Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad. I was thinking only recently that I had not seen Robbie Coltrane in a while. I think it was during the whole Harry Potter sort of anniversary stuff. I was like, God, I love Robbie Coltrane. And I would always love seeing him in a movie and seeing him in a show. And he'd pop up in Britcom things. And maybe he was in these things and I just wasn't seeing them. But I was like, I had a moment a few months back where I worried about Robbie Coltrane. And so when I saw that headline pop up, I was like, oh no.
You did this.
I think I might have manifested it, yeah.
You worried about him and you made it happen.
What an odd thing to manifest.
The death of Robbie Coltrane. I've been trying to kill Angela Lansbury for years.
I got news for you. Murder. You wrote. She's dead.
But she's not alive to prove it.
That's intense.
How to get away with murder? First kill Jessica Fletcher.
And then...
Columbo.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's already dead, isn't he? Peter...
Falk. F-A-L-K. Like Lee Falk, the creator of The Phantom which starred Billy Zane. Billy Zane, who's in a new movie, which is... I don't have... Oh, shit. I would love to have been able to segue into something. Got nothing. Billy Zane was in Titanic with Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. Who else? Has anybody got anything on? Can I bounce to something? I'm trying to segue here.
Were you trying? I would have done like 6 connections from Peter Falk to Guy Fawkes. Go for it.
What was that?
Peter Falk, Guy Fawkes.
Guy Fawkes, the man who tried to blow up Parliament in the 1700s?
Yes.
Okay.
In 6 connections.
What are we connecting to?
Go for it. I want you to do it.
You want me to get from Guy Fawkes to Peter Falk?
I mean, the easiest thing was, Phantom Halloween.
V for Vendetta.
Right now. But, yeah.
I have half an hour, guys.
I'm sorry, Kevin, I'm sorry.
It's all right, Brian. It's not your fault.
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault. We'll talk about it later. Speaking of things that are out of our control, Brian, She-Hulk. I really enjoyed it. What did you think?
No.
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 Oh my God.
She knows.
No. Wow. This is. I suppose this is what podcasts are all about. Just a couple of guys getting together disagreeing.
I didn't hate it. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
You can't hammer on about how weak the ending is as if you weren't writing it. You can't deconstruct your finale without deconstructing the show the whole way along. It's not enough to kind of wink to the camera a couple of times in previous episodes and then at the very end go, let's look at the common critiques of MCU stuff and then dismantle them. And then they didn't. They just jumped to the aftermath. None of that worked. You can only pull the rug like that. It's harder to pull the rug like that in a very sudden way. And they definitely didn't pull that off. And they're kind of critiquing. It's like, did you want this to happen? Did you want this to happen? It's like, you're writing it.
Yeah.
It's not worth the gag. You write something else then. Or go even further off. But And it's no less sloppy. Like they're saying, this is sloppy. This guy's just dropping in, and this person's just dropping in. It's no less sloppy to say, okay, we'll take it out and take that out and bring Daredevil back. That's equally sloppy. And the only reason you've done it is to wink to the camera and talk about X-Men and act like you're deconstructing, the superhero origin, like first debut or story or whatever it is. And they didn't even do that in the end either. And it was all just for a couple of jokes, and it just didn't work. They didn't pull it off.
I'll be honest, right? I enjoyed it because I was just like, where is this going? And then I thought it was very funny when like she kind of went out the Disney menu and then was in the real world and all that jazz. I thought there was some of that stuff, like, it was a brave move, and I appreciate them going for it, and even meeting Kevin and stuff, even though I knew Kevin wasn't going to be Kevin Feige or whatever his name is, because I watch everything with subtitles, and it came up as Kevin K.E.B.I. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, okay, well, that's not right of saying that,
And that's another thing. Like, if the show's going to be that kind of meta, that's a note that they should have had. That the subtitles should say Kevin, noun first and not acronym. Those are the kind of things that if you're going to break the fourth wall and deconstruct and do all of that, then you need to do it on every level. You can't just do it for a couple of gags at the end. You've got to build the whole story to include that, and it doesn't.
Mm-mm.
The individual jokes, there's nothing wrong with. The idea that they get to the end,
like the stuff like she's like, "Why'd you make me sign the NDA if you were just going to push the button?" Like, those were funny things, but they just came too quick, one after another, and they weren't allowed to land. There was no build up. It was just, wouldn't it be funny if we, drew attention to this, and it would be funny if we kind of criticized that, and they just kind of, like, it's like they had like, what are the top 5 jokes we can make about something like this, rather than writing the story and writing jokes that are organic within that,
Yeah. The individual jokes were fine. As Brian said, like, writing a story where we slowly start to suspect, and let's be honest, suspected very early on, the fucking douchebag billionaire that fetishized her, having 2-3 attempts where they try to steal her blood, having them rally together around the intelligentsia. Every one of those steps is, like, it's not out of the blue, it's not weird, it's not making no sense. It is the straightforward narrative that you have written and we have followed along with. So for her to then go, this doesn't make sense, like, they've been phoning, they set up that they had been trying to get in touch with Bruce for the last, like, episode and a half. So him showing up at the end actually makes sense. Okay, he was out of touch, but he rushed back. The only person that doesn't make sense showing up is Titania.
Yeah.
It's the Blazing Saddles ending. Like, Brian and I have talked a little bit about this already. I loved Blazing Saddles when I was watching it the first time. Like, I think I was like 13 or 14, and people were like, it's one of Mel Brooks' bests, and I love Mel Brooks. And I was going, great, this is great. Like, I loved Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor's chemistry, and I was like watching Blazing Saddles, and I know that wasn't Richard Pryor, but like I'm trying to be honest about the sort of speed bumps I encountered coming into this movie, because I had watched the movies prior and Wilder had done together, and I was coming into this going, okay, I don't know this guy, let's see what this is, and I was enjoying it. And it's like, people are like, the fart scene's the funniest scene of all time, and I was kind of going, I guess farts weren't a thing in film in the 70s, so it was funny then, but it's not particularly funny to me now. So I was on board, and then it did the fucking reality break where they all run out of the studio, and then they're running around the Hollywood lot, and they're complaining to the executives, and it's just like, I'm completely out of this film now. I no longer give a shit about anything that's happened. You've destroyed the reality. So I don't like that to begin with. But at least it comes back at the end of it and sort of resolves. The She-Hulk, like, she comes out and says, this whole third act thing doesn't work. She talks to the robot, and then they don't come back and do anything. It's just handcuffs. And it's like, you have the worst of both worlds. You don't have a clever legal solution that is funny, and you don't have a third act action sequence. We just have aftermath.
I was a little bit disappointed there wasn't a bit of a She-Hulk battle, fights. I would have loved to have seen that. I was a little bit disappointed that Titania wasn't in it enough. Like, I'm not too sure. Like, pushed her a lot as the main villain, and I was a little bit disappointed by that.
Well, I think it's much as anything, Jamila has a big social media presence, and she helped push the show and stuff, but it turns out her role wasn't as big as...
Fair. I did enjoy the 70s intro stuff. Brilliant.
But do you remember the first trailer we saw for She-Hulk? Like 2 years ago or something. It included that 70s stuff. And I remember looking at that going, like, how is this all going to work together? I thought the show was going to do that more often.
All the time, yeah.
And that would have been great because, I loved that intro. I mean, I loved the 70s Hulk show, so I loved kind of seeing them do that. But in the first trailer, they had Ruffalo and her kind of posing and talking to camera, and I thought the show was like I thought the show was going to break format and kind of convention. A couple of episodes that 1 week would be a little bit something else, another week would be a bit something else, and then that would work, kind of like Everything Everywhere.
That's
you've got to kind of you've got to build that stuff in, even if you want to kind of do a rug pull at the end where she's literally jumping through the app. Okay, you can save that. That can still be a big rug pull, but you got to build that stuff in. From the start, she needs to be kind of talking about, I'm in this superhero origin story, but and then critique it along the way, because you can't just critique it at the end because that's what you've written for 8 previous episodes. It's like,
my brother said it, and I have to admit, I kind of agreed with him. He was just like, well, he said that it's like not by any means his like favorite MCU show or anything that at all, or content, but he's really enjoying the show. And I have to agree, like, it definitely was weak in parts, but I really enjoyed She-Hulk.
Oh, it's on its way solidly for me for being like a favorite MCU show. Yeah. It's just that last fucking episode was just like, it just didn't quite land.
It's another thing I think with the kind of writing and the approach for the show. Not everybody is that online. Like the show, not everybody's like that meta.
An extensive piece of the audience don't know who Kevin Feige is.
Yeah, and like the whole thing about saying 1 week that we've got Twitter armor and stuff. It's like there's only a small portion of dorks like us that will talk about the show on Twitter and all that kind of thing. People aren't part of the Twitter discourse as much. People aren't fucking chronically online.
This show,
not that same
this show definitely pandered
thing. There's a small percentage that are going to talk about it like we do, or make a video essay or whatever about it. The rest of it is just an audience checking in, and so much of the
show definitely does lean into a lot of the internet
culture. Yeah, and it just it's cringy when you kind of watch it then, and it'll age. Watch this in a year or two, and there's the stuff they're saying, and it's just like it's TikTok stuff. It's like when somebody's when you hear a sound on TikTok, 2 weeks later, it's like we're past that.
A Megan Thee Stallion
thing.
Bit, like that's not going to age great. Like, I don't know. Like, I watched the new episode of Rick and Morty. I think it was a new one this week with the dinosaurs. I don't know if you guys are watching Rick and Morty, but there's a lot of in this week's episode. There's a lot of like celebrity cameos, and like I'm not saying they actually got voices or anything, but it's like, the monsters of the week suddenly are being interviewed on Anderson Cooper, and then they're on Rogan, and then they're on Wendy Williams, and then they're at the Oscars, and you've got Tom Hanks, and you've got a bunch of people in the crowd. And I'm like, this feels like one of those 1940s Warner cartoons where it's just like having fun with caricatures of celebrities. And I remember watching those as a kid going, I don't know who the fuck Peter Lorre is. Why is this funny? I don't know who that is. Like I have got a more extensive grasp of fucking old-timey actors at this point, but I'm just like, this isn't funny. This is memes of the age, and it's actually, I think it might be dorkier because it took fucking 16 months to produce, and they had to fucking stamp it onto celluloid and ship it around the world to cinemas,
Yeah, by the time they made it, those people had already...
I've been enjoying the show, I think it's kind of weak in places. I think those things that I kind of said are the kind of weaker parts of the show, but I didn't dislike it. I just think they kind of they didn't really stick the landing, but I do hope it gets another season at least.
I really hope so. Well, I really like the actor Jen, who's playing Jennifer. I think she's brilliant. Yeah. I really enjoy it. I was going to ask though, so how many MCU shows do we have now at the moment? You have Wanda, you have Captain America, you have Hawkeye, You have
Moon Knight, Miss Marvel.
Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk,
So at
and
least
What
8.
If.
What
That's
If and
7,
Secret
I
Invasion.
think. Yeah, but I'm saying the ones that have been out. You know? Yeah.
About
Is
7
season
or 8.
2 of What If coming?
Yeah. That'll be next year.
Oh, and Loki. We forgot Loki. So 8. I forgot Loki anyways. So there's definitely 8. 8 there anyways. So top 3, roughly. Not in any order or anything, just.
For me at the moment, like Loki, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, or She-Hulk, sorry. I actually did enjoy Miss Marvel, but it's just
Loki,
like it got
Wanda,
so long.
and Moon Knight maybe for me, and that's largely because Stephen and Mark.
Yeah. Moon Knight, definitely.
It is Oscar Isaac's performance in that. It's great.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit detached from everything else. It didn't rely on the greater universe. I also enjoyed when the oh my god, what's her name? She came the Scarlet Scarab. Yeah. It was very cool. That was awesome.
Layla, was it?
Like, you know the way kind of at the end of the Moon Knight finale, he had his blackout and he woke up and like everybody was, even Ethan Hawke and everybody was down and dusted, and I like that. But it didn't. But it kind of doing that kind of again in She-Hulk was a little bit like, oh no, I wouldn't have minded see She-Hulk because we didn't see enough.
Especially when it was like, let's write a different ending because this is what we always do, and this is so similar to the Super Soldier things. So let's do something original. And it's like, okay, and then they just cut to. It's like, you can't do that. That's just as lazy as what you're criticizing.
So there was a bit of a theme that started to develop there towards the end of it, where Daredevil was talking about, if I can't do good as a lawyer, I'll do the good as the superhero. And she has this last line on the city steps where somebody basically asks her, like, what do you mean as a superhero? And she goes, yes. And again, that's felt like her saying, I'm ready to be a vigilante to a degree and be out superheroing in the world. And I felt like you arrive at that by having that fight sequence where you have to be the superhero at the end of your show. And they didn't have that. Does that make sense?
She should have come to that she should have come to that revelation through experience or through
the third act action.
Yeah, experience.
And like
but like the true events,
like, it's not even clear. They were saying, "Oh, let's get rid of that blood plot storyline." And does that mean that it didn't happen at all, and that Intelligentsia just did the thing at the award show, and the blood thing didn't happen, or did it happen? But they were like, we're just not gonna deal with it because it's been done before. But the thing is,
does that guy have Hulk powers now?
But yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Is like she either has to beat him in a fist fight to get him to the point where he's in cuffs, or it doesn't happen, and she kind of says, "Well, I've called the police, and you're all here now, and I've got evidence that you're behind the attack just at the thing previously." But like one of those things needs to happen. But then the fact that like she's in She-Hulk when like she transforms when she comes out to face him, so she's also broken the terms of her parole thing, and then Emil goes away for 10 years for just doing it as an appearance, and her thing is just is kind of let slide because
she has the power to change the history of her life or the events of her life. How come she just didn't undo herself as She-Hulk?
The first fucking episode she asks Bruce for an inhibitor and he says he can't do it, and the government just slaps it on her.
This is the thing with breaking the fourth wall. Like if she's going to be in Secret Wars, then the question straight away is like, whatever happens in Secret Wars, why can't she just undo all of it? Why can't she just walk into the writer's room if she's going to be in Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty, or Captain America? Like that's why I generally don't like it, because like especially if Deadpool does it, everybody can say, no, he's insane, he thinks he's in a movie,
Yeah.
They can play it off with Deadpool because that's kind of one of the ways they do play it off. If he breaks the fourth wall, if he's in Secret Wars or something, everybody can just act like Wade's not well, or whatever it is. But if She-Hulk does it, what's...
Yeah, I don't like to be that conservative with stuff. I like people going nuts and stuff, but like the MCU is this big thing at this point. It's this entity, and I like comic relief and I like comedy in my movies, but between Thor: Love and Thunder and this, it does feel like they're letting comedy writers just go a bit batshit and kind of play with concepts in a very dismissive way. Like, the Hulk's son is there now. That's a whole plot. You know, we talked about it with Thor. You know, Zeus, Lady Thor, Gore the God Butcher. These are three big elements that you could have got miles out of, and they're just pissed away. And you know, it's not the end of the world, but it's just
that should have been an entire trilogy, like Hercules, Jane, and Gore. That should have been a Thor trilogy. Like,
yeah. Also, the Hulk stuff should have been like, you know, hey, I have a son. There should have been a little bit more.
I think that will be a film. More than likely, they probably will do that.
They're going to do a Hulk movie, aren't they? Yeah.
Planet Hulk or World.
Well, I just thought they would have kind of introduced it or addressed it in a movie, but then, you know, they're just getting the groundwork done for cheaper, aren't they?
Yeah.
But so now they need to then give us. I say now they need to, as if anything's going to happen. But like, now in theory we get a whole Hulk movie where we see him go back to Sakaar and meet his son, and then leave at the end of it, and that ties up with She-Hulk.
Possibly. I heard as well though that they are a lot of the shows that are like lined up for, you know, that are in development or production. There's talk that they are going to rework them as special presentations, kind of like Werewolf by Night rather than making. So Echo might now be a Disney Plus movie as opposed, which I think is better because they're stretching a lot of stuff to series that
don't need to be series.
Doesn't need to be,
And again, it's just for the sake of
like Werewolf by Night was great. Didn't need to be series.
Getting content on the platform, and I think the thing is, it makes sense if Disney is the home of that stuff, then create exclusive content that you can only that's your reason for subscribing to it. But it's strange, like Disney were so precious about their back catalog for years that you could buy it when it came out on VHS at first, and it was available for a very limited window, and then it never came out again because they understood the value of their catalog and keeping that stuff kind of rare. And now we're seeing the opposite, where it's just like shows for everything we own, and there's a need to have content constantly, but I think everybody is starting to get a bit fatigued with stuff, and it's not even because the stuff is bad, it's just
it's persistent.
Yeah.
You used to have to wait a couple of months.
Yeah.
You used to have to wait a year for the next Marvel thing, and now it's like...
And like, I'm saying that as an audience member. I want 4 to 6 episodes, and I want to watch them in a weekend. I don't want 9 weeks of something.
Yep.
Give me 4 to 6 one weekend. I'll watch it, and then I would sooner wait 4, 5, 6 months for the next thing rather than having something every week, because there's diminishing returns on it, you know.
Yep.
It's just not as fun. We're more critical of it because, again, I think as well, She-Hulk was good, but it was probably kind of rushed. You know, it was probably they announced a bunch of shows at whenever it was. You know, there was the thing with the title cards, and they were all in development at the same time, with one person kind of overseeing them and films on top of it. I don't think they did a bad job, but I think stuff has been kind of rushed.
Was Abomination always twice the height of Hulk?
I think this Hulk is smaller because he's the amalgamated. He's the smart. He's Banner and Hulk together, so he's smaller. I think
he's a bit smaller, is he? Okay,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And when
his arms are
his voice shouldn't be Tim Roth's voice. It just doesn't make sense. Just have him. It's even funnier for him to say, like, you know, kind of, you know, positive.
Yeah, namaste, abomaste is the funniest thing, anyway.
With, you know, a monster voice as opposed. It just looks stupid having him say it in Tim Roth's
only thing
voice, you know?
I will say, I don't want to sound like a DC Schneider fan, but the only thing I will say about the MCU, and don't get me wrong, I love it, but they need to balance the drama out a bit better. Every character has just turned into a joke. Abomination's a joke. Look at all the characters in the Thor repertoire. Hulk is just like, he's like kind of, leans far more into the humor side of things. And I just think they need to balance it a bit more. It's okay when you had like kind of, the Avengers and like, to a degree, kind of Robert Downey Jr. was the comedy element to a degree, with the kind of his sark and his wit and stuff. But it's just like, now you're just getting teams of everybody's comedy element, like Guardians of the Galaxy had a better balance of it, but that was more of a comedy movie, but just I think they need to kind of balance the drama and the comedy a bit better.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think there could be where is the movie that like is a straight serious action film kind of thing in the MCU at this point? Like whatever about a bit of comic relief here and there.
Winter Soldier.
But that's a while back is what we're sort of getting at.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's been a while since they've had something with a bit more of a... Grit. But I would say like WandaVision was still more drama than comedy.
Yeah.
Yes, true. Yeah. But it's kind of it's definitely in the last 2 years that they've gone way more just making everything a joke. It's more of a recent thing, But because Ant-Man is obviously, it's comedy. It's comedy. But it's a good balance of it.
I don't know that I don't know. I mean, I never went back and watched that second Ant-Man movie. The first one was very funny. Yeah. Or very in the comedy end of
very
things.
Funny, but like you do really, like you take him seriously though. Like you don't take Thor seriously in the fourth Thor movie. No. You don't take the Abomination seriously. You take Ant-Man seriously though. Even when he's just like, he jokes in Civil War about working with Cap and stuff, like they're good moments because they're smart decisions. They were made kind of intently or whatever. Where I just think things
that's
now
the thing. It's it's kind of like I was saying. They find the jokes to make within the story rather than writing the story just because they want to make this joke and that joke later on. Yeah. So instead of writing a story and say where can we lighten this up and what would be funny in the moment to kind of break the tension, which is something like Civil War does. Instead, in She-Hulk, we've just got we know everybody's talking about X-Men, so let's put an X-Men gag in there and let's put this joke in there, and just because it's almost like they wrote jokes first and then kind of constructed a plot around it. And same with Love and Thunder, it's like they first said, let's have this city where all the gods are, and let's have a dumpling and stuff there, and let's work backwards and come up with the story.
That's a dumpling. Yeah, the dumpling angered me less than the octopus playing the drums in Aquaman.
Well, my problem with that thing in Love and Thunder is that the reason the Asgardians work is that they're another race that have been on Earth, in previous years, and to people back then they appeared as gods, but they're not gods. They're just this other race that are godlike.
They went out of their way to explain how they're not actual gods.
They're not gods, and it should be the same then for the Olympians, that they're essentially they're Asgardians as well, just from another place, and they've been
Asgard,
on Earth
Olympia, it's all the same,
but they're not gods. And the whole reason Gore's entire plotline is that, or should be, that he's been worshipping these people that aren't gods. They just have these power, or not even powers, but just they appear godlike to a more primitive culture, and they just don't care about his culture. And then he suddenly has the power to kind of go, well, I can get revenge now. But instead they went, no, all gods, all real, any god that ever existed, it's all real. It's like it breaks your universe,
So just I guess we've given She-Hulk and Marvel a long old rant there.
But thumbs up for She-Hulk. I enjoyed it.
I liked it overall. It's just the finale didn't really work.
I look forward to seeing She-Hulk in more things. I real pedant stuff. They know what height she is, right? Like when she came out into the real world, are the doors at Disney that tall? I thought she's over 7 foot, isn't she?
Yeah, that's
I don't know if she is.
That's
I don't know.
How tall is she supposed to be? I was watching her
I've
walk
seen
around
different
like
numbers.
the Disney studio.
I've seen some places have said 6'9", and then others are saying 7 something. But I'd imagine she's more the 6 something. But I don't know.
Okay, Because I was watching her
Well, she
walking
was able
around
to
going,
pick
I
that
thought she
man
was
up.
supposed
She's
to be...
supposed to be huge.
But they,
Like, I don't know. I imagine
would
a
have
little
to know,
ducking
they
under
would have to know
doors.
that stuff because they've got to have eye lines and things for
Consistency.
VFX.
Yeah.
So they'd
somebody
have
on
to
that
be using
shit.
the same prop for things.
I got hung up on everybody's height in that finale. We saw that Netflix have announced their ad tier. So it's $7 and you get 720p streaming and ads. That's...
I mean, look, if nowadays with people's budgets, like it's not for me. I won't do it. If it helps people out and people can get whatever, fine.
Well, that's the thing. As long as that's not being slapped onto somebody's existing price tiering.
But I mean, ads and lower resolution, like,
Isn't a good sale. Just put the ads in.
yeah. But even like, why am I paying for ads? Why am I paying to watch ads? It's one thing if I buy a DVD and there's a couple of ads at the start and I can skip them or something. But if I'm paying for a service monthly, how many ads is there going to be per, like, why am I paying? Like,
I know what you mean.
YouTube
Like,
were trying to get us to pay for accounts so we can have no
Get rid of ads. Yeah.
and have higher resolution. I know eventually down the line YouTube will it'll be the same thing, but it's just
Netflix will make us some bad shouts. The world's in a funny place.
Look, I don't know the fucking finances ins and outs of Netflix, and we've kind of touched on this before, but like, Netflix is not making money. They're concerned that they're not growing like they were initially.
and that's because they have more competition now with Prime and Disney and HBO, or they had anyway at least. But I mean, the thing is,
Why create a shitty version of your service for the sake of growth?
I gotta go, boys.
Do you though?
Yes, Aidan, I do.
They're going to be married forever.
Hopefully, please God, don't jinx them. Your fucking jinxy abilities.
I'm just going to think about failed relationships. What a prick.
I get why they feel the need to do it, but at the same time, if I'm a new customer and my options are, well, $7 for lower resolution and ads, or $7 for Disney 4K HDR streaming, that's an easy decision.
Yep.
I will eventually divest myself of all these platforms.
This is the thing,
point where I'm
yeah.
just like,
I'm just gearing up for the point where I just go, right, just cancel, and I'll watch stuff in
I'll watch books.
I'll watch books. I fucking loved last week's episode of House of the Dragon.
It was great.
It was pretty fucking great. Like,
It was good stuff.
you can watch it and go like, wow, all of this sort of, I don't know, symbolism and metaphor, and like it's so, in some ways it's heavy-handed, but and also it's like, it's just perfectly there, like the things like,
There's layers of it.
there's layers of
You
it.
can interpret it in the the metaphor, symbolic way, or you can just take it at face value, and it all works as well.
Yeah, there's versions of that where you see people like trying to hit you over the head with symbolism and you hate it. Whereas this, I'm like, he's got the high towers on the right of him, his family on the left of him. The right side of him is the bit that's sort of rotten away. He has this beautiful dinner moment with the family, but when the moment he leaves, it falls apart. So it's just sort of foreshadowing for what's coming. Like, it's doing a great job.
What I kind of liked about it, again, on the the symbolic side, is how a person who's good, essentially, and who's
Viserys?
maybe who is too on the fence and isn't decisive enough and is always making decisions for good, is ultimately going to be eaten alive by a sort of a power dynamic, that the only people who really thrive in a Game of Thrones type situation are the people who are cutthroat and ruthless and all of that, and that a good man essentially will be rotted from the inside out by trying to be a good man, there's that kind of layer of it, which I liked. But then also there's the fact that, as Considine said himself, that he essentially died when when Emma died, and that he's just been slowly dying since that point as well. Then it all works, and then it just works in the kind of the plot level sense.
When he made that decision to favor the heir over his wife for the sake of legacy, for the sake of the throne, for the sake of, you know, when he made that political decision rather than love decision, is when he started to die. That's great. I just, when the first round of Game of Thrones worked, it was because these layers and these scenes of just
drama. Yeah.
The drama was there, you know, and it was drawn from a text where somebody put a lot of time into thinking about it and drawing it and presenting angles of it. Having a source text that you can dismantle and use.
It'll be interesting to watch the Game of Thrones remake in 30 years when the books are finished and they can more closely follow how the books ended.
That is interesting. Like, how many books does he have left to write? Is it just
two left? I think. No, it's two. I think. Yeah. And he's been writing the book that's currently due. He's been writing that one for a while. So even when that's out, which isn't anytime soon, there's one left after that. But they absolutely will remake. I think they should even remake the show, and because it's a while away. But remake it when however he sees it ending, when he finally gets to do that and have it, especially as well because they can plot from the very start. It's not like they just will go from season 4 and work towards the ending he's written. They can start to lay the groundwork for however it ends from season 1, beginning, and the very beginning. That'll be interesting, but that's a while away. We might be dead when that happens.
Okay.
But that would be huge. Yeah, we might.
I thought you were about to say that would be you, and I'm like, oh, cheers. That would be you.
You'd like that, I thought.
Yeah. I know for me, like, we've talked about this before, that like once I work out the sketch and I'm like, well, that works, having to slog through the execution of the rest of the piece, film, script, whatever the hell it is the fucking work. So if I were George R.R. Martin and they've made 8 seasons of the thing and I gave them an outline and they did the ending, I'd be like, guess it didn't work. I wouldn't be in any psychological state to sit down and go.
I don't think he told him. I think he might have given him like the very, very end point. I don't think. I think a lot of the stuff that happens in the last season is all their own creation.
Right.
You know.
But he now needs to sit down, know what's happened, and go, okay, do I ditch all of that? How much of that do I ditch? Do I...
I think
I'm curious to see how he marries
as much
concepts.
as people might criticize things that have happened in the book, the book's strongest point has always been his willingness to just go where the story's going. So the Red Wedding happened because that's what would have happened. That's what the story demanded, and it upset people, and it was huge. And there's other things he's done that have upset people, but it fits the logic of the context and the world he's created. So I'd imagine he would stick to his guns simply because he's always kind of been true. Whether he's been true to characters or not, I would say he's probably been true to the world of the books, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's probably a bit difficult, but at the same time, it's probably given him I'd imagine some useful information as well. Or, you know, he might say, well, they hated that, so they're going to really hate this.
Yeah.
And just commit to it.
1 episode, 2 episodes left of it. 2? 10 episodes?
2. I think it's 10. Wow. I think it's a 10 episode season, yeah. I think. Is there another time jump, or is that the last one?
I don't know. I know that the guy playing Aemond was cool. Aemond?
Too cool. Aemond, I think.
Aemond. He's fucking class. He did a great job with one eye. Just like
too cool. He's awesome.
It's just wicked.
He cuts a great figure and he looks great. And he's got this weird like kind of curl at the end of his lips, so he's
just outside of his smile, he's just got these little like fucking.
He's all kind of pursed with like rage or something, you know?
Like not even looking at them.
Yeah.
They're there, but it's just got like a sword against Kristen Cole and goes, "Have you come to spar, nephews?" The recasting of Aegon, I don't care for. I think Ty Tennant had a great look as well and is in line with who played Aemond now. In that sort of like long sort of what do you call it, aquiline look to the face, you know. The guy they've cast to play older Aegon, God bless him, he just doesn't fit what was, you know, and I don't think he did enough to be interesting in that episode.
It might fit who the character is now, though, you know.
Yeah.
Because he certainly looked like the type of prick who'd say what he said at the dinner, you know. The second Viserys is gone, he's cracking on to I don't know what the relationships are. I've lost. I saw, you know, that meme of like, you know, your crush, her brother, her. Yeah, have you seen that one?
Yeah,
like Damon pops up at that. It's like your uncle, her father, and something else, and it's like it's all Damon.
Those two are Damon's daughters.
Yeah.
And Aegon and Aemond would be Damon's nephews. Because they're Viserys' kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're cousins. Damon's daughters and his brother's daughters. They're cousins. They're first cousins. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that one's pretty straightforward. It's just Lyanna Valorian? What the hell is their names? The names are hard. Yeah, Daemon married
unless
her.
I see them written down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Leonor that he married, and then he had 2 or 3?
2 daughters. The third died. And then Viserys' kids are Aemon and Aegon.
Viserys.
These are the most straight line lineages in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, but that moment then where he's just like, to my nephews, so brave, so gallant, so strong. Fucking the cheek. Ooh.
It's that stuff that makes Game of Thrones good. It's that this is all like if he had just stayed at the table, or if he hadn't laughed at him when they brought the pig out, or if she had taken up her invitation to stay, but she was like, "No, I'll get my children home first," then like she might have been there when Viserys dies, you know, because now Alicent has presumably misinterpreted
the dream of Aegon on the dragon.
So it's so many big things are about to happen, and they all hinge on these small things. They're like, if just that had been there, and like it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I know it's not the same thing, but I was definitely just watching Paddy Considine's performance of this old, frailer man, and especially the experience I had in the last year of looking after somebody who was, you know, like not Viserys, like, but you know, somebody who was limited in mobility and discomfort, but also very stridently determined to, you know, get up out of bed and get himself out to get breakfast or get to the bathroom or get bathed and come back, like, and just watching somebody lie in bed and that reaching up thing, like my dad, when he had there was a couple of instances where, you know, whatever medication he had, he would start seeing things, you know, and over whatever, like, I hate painting a picture that looks fucking horrible, but there were a couple of instances where, like, the medication we got a little wrong, not we got wrong, but like finding a balance that worked for him. He'd have something where, like, he's seeing the table floating around the room, and we just sort of take him off of that, and a day later he's fine again, you know. But that sort of reaching out, that hand reaching out things, and it was just so beautifully observed and performed. And, you know, like, I know you leap into conclusions in your own head, but it's like Paddy has had to have, you know, been through some shit in his life to be able to acutely
draw on that,
portray that. And then to see the behind the scenes stuff where he's like in costume, like doing fucking putting on the Ritz with the cane and shit, and that he's got this great sense of humor about him as well. Like, I saw Edgar Wright posted a video on Twitter just after that episode aired, saying, Paddy Considine is one of the greatest actors of our generation. And it's behind the scenes footage from Hot Fuzz. And it's Timothy Dalton going, of course, we're delighted to be working with such amazing actors like Jim Broadbent, this, that, and the other. Simon Pegg is going, oh my God, to be in a room with James Bond is amazing. It's to be this, that, and the other. And just all the cast members, and it just gets to Paddy and goes, don't know who the fuck any of them are. Deadpan. He's a funny, grim, amazing actor. I'm very impressed by him. And I will miss having him in the show.
I've seen a lot of people be kind of on the fence about the show and about his character, because again, he's he's arguably not decisive enough kind of throughout, but I think everybody's kind of changed.
He is decisive. He's just not punitively enforcing.
I guess indecisive in the sense that he is trying to please everybody rather than making a strong decision one way or another. He's kind of he's tried to compromise. He's tried to please everybody.
Yeah,
I guess.
But I know what you're saying, but I think that's coming from his
my kind of
demeanor.
My point there though was that I've seen people watch the show for a couple of episodes and be critical of him for this, and they've all kind of turned around just based on his that scene at the dinner table. People kind of finally have understood, like however critical they might have been about him previously, to see him try walk. Well, he did walk to the throne, and then that scene, everybody is kind of.
When they announce him entering the room as well, just chills, First of his name, King of the Andals.
I think I know myself. Like I've been watching the show, I've been enjoying it, but I haven't been hooked into it in the same way that I was in Game of Thrones, say.
Right.
And those two moments have really, like his performance, have made the show all the better. I'm kind of interested in watching it again, knowing where he ends up.
I wasn't that hooked into season 1 of Game of Thrones. It took all that time to learn the world and learn the relationships and start to see where the stakes were. I was carried along by characters and by scenes and stuff, but I wasn't mad on. I was just like, oh, this is cool. Here we go. And it wasn't until stuff sort of like the first couple of episodes, getting to know the kids. Like Joffrey's just a gobshite. You hate him, and you'd go on hating him, but like you just think, oh fuck this prick. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to watch this scene with him. But I guess coming in with the weight of like knowing that I have loved Game of Thrones and knowing all these actors that I like I thought this was going to be dog shit, because I thought there's no way they're going to recapture the magic of Game of Thrones in terms of the hype that like brought an audience into it. Like that's lightning in a bottle. And seeing Matt Smith with the blonde wig on, I thought looked horrible, because that guy, as much as I love him, he's been taking swings for a while and he's been popping up and stuff franchise wise, and it hasn't been landing, like the Venom, or is it Morbius role, and it pops up in a Terminator movie, and like he's been popping into the genre stuff,
yeah, because he's been quite good in The Crown,
The Crown, and like and there's no denying he's a good dramatic actor, but having come from that sort of Doctor Who start, and I'm sure he did stuff before that as well, but just having that like push into the world of genre, he hasn't, to my mind, hit a sort of big genre moment again, and I don't think that's for lack of trying. So when I saw him in that wig, I went, oh, here we go again, he's taking another swing. It's like Paul Bettany doing action movies, like he tried and he tried and he tried, and then they went, okay, that's not for you, like he crept back into the Marvel world. But so when Damon turned out to be just this fucking fun character, he's horrible, but he's great fun, I thought he was just going to be this two-dimensional, sneering, awful dickhead character, and I was like, this is going to be crap. He's just going to be like, I'm a bad guy. And in many ways he is, but he's also like the relationship with the brother's cool, and the relationship with his 3 wives at this point, it's that balance. It's very good. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I almost wish it was over in 2 episodes because I don't think that they can carry on for another 6 seasons or whatever the hell the plan is. But that's just me being a pessimist, really. Maybe they'll nail it, you know.
They're off to a good start.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely done this thing where I'm like, well, there's a bunch of characters I like. Hope George R.R. Martin doesn't do anything to hurt any of them. I don't know. Is there any news in the world, movie-wise?
Well, have you
television-wise?
watched Rings of Power? Have you watched the Rings of Power finale?
I did, but I just, like, even as coming off the back of the House of the Dragon bit there, I'm just like, I don't necessarily feel like I need to talk about this. I just was like, yeah, it's fine. Did you
great.
enjoy it? Okay.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, like they're two very different shows.
Mm.
I don't think it warrants any comparison really. One's a kind of one's fiction that's rooted in a sort of a fake medieval history, and the other is a show
High
that's
fantasy type.
kind of based around kind of mythology, kind of few kind of creation myths and things like that, and couldn't be more different really, you know. And it's cool to see, especially like, you know, I read, you know, a lot of mythology, and there's so many different interpretations, and there's so much kind of symbolism, and there's so much how you know, when you're kind of reading something and you're reading kind of a summary of a bunch of different, because a lot of this stuff is recorded in poems and things like that, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And Tolkien kind of drew on a lot of those things when he kind of created this world he's created, and it's cool to see stuff that is just kind of in appendices in Lord of the Rings, and to see that interpreted. It just reminds me a lot of, you know, kind of reading a lot of kind of creation myths and different myths from, you know, whether it's Norse mythology or other things, and to see it kind of interpreted in a dramatic way and see it done well. I thought it was quite cool. You know, and you kind of read stuff like, you know, Sauron was around in this form, and he fooled people, and he kind of gave them these things as gifts, and you kind of go, well, how does that play out in a dramatic sense? And then we get to actually see it, you know, how somebody could kind of, how a figure could come in and, you know, subtly suggest and prod and kind of sow the seeds for different things. I thought it was cool. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Looking forward to seeing where it's going next. The stranger was Gandalf. That was cool. That was awesome.
Did you buy it in that moment where they're like, he's Sauron?
No.
No.
I mean, at that when they said it as plainly as that, I was like, well, he's definitely not Sauron. So, but I still enjoyed it. You know,
Cool.
Especially when the next when the next scene has your man coming in, kind of going, well, if you you know, like, he basically says, you know, he gives him the idea for using other alloys and stuff, and he's like, oh, I never would have thought it. And he goes, oh, you know, call it a gift. It's like, well, no, we definitely know.
Yeah, Sauron gifted to the
yeah. But it didn't for me anyway. It didn't diminish the later reveal. It just made it.
I did like the like I'm trying to remember it as well. It was a fun night. I'm trying to remember yesterday. The trippy ass sequence where he's like in Galadriel's memories, brain type of thing. That was kind of cool. I did like whoever the guy is playing Gandalf. I should learn names. Yeah, he just had he had some nice Gandalfisms, you know, just as he starts to, you know, they always follow your nose, you know, or
follow your nose. Yeah.
Why, in your words, it would be wizard,
yeah.
You know, like it just started.
I thought they might kind of, because they still haven't confirmed who he is, so I was thinking he could still be Saruman, because he looks quite Christopher Lee in a lot of.
He does, places. Yeah. He's a little more drawn than McKellen. Yeah,
so he might be Saruman, but
I think isn't Saruman supposed to have been the first wizard? I can't remember. Like I know that we're posing all of these like concepts, but at the same time I think like the fucking fan service of the producer is going to be, this is Gandalf, let's not fuck around, let's just give them the fucking thing they want, you know, like the name of the stars as the vagabond's hat or something. It's like
the hermit's hat.
the hermit's hat, and then he's going to pluck the fucking felt thing out of the sky and put it on his head, and he'll be like, I was just half expected it to close over and something at the top of it, and just the fucking Sailor Moon manifest into being.
I wasn't really thinking that, but
no, I just
I was thinking more
spiraled.
hermeticism, alchemy kind of. But
yeah,
no, I liked it. It was cool.
If you look at the stars this way, it's also got a little pipe and it's smoking fucking weed. Yeah.
I think that second season isn't due until 2024. And I don't know if it's this time, 2024, so it's a while away.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I recently watched, I haven't finished it, but I'm most of the way through it. Primal. Have you watched any of that?
I watched, I think, the first 2 episodes of it. I know I need to go back to it, and part of the like big selling point of it is the visual storytelling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got distracted. I need dialogue because I look away for a while. I'm like, wait, what's happening? Just because I'd be, I don't know, drawing or something else at the same time. By the time I'm putting anything on to watch, I'm usually drawing or scribbling or writing something at the same time.
Yeah, if it's not dialogue heavy, then you're going to miss a lot if you're not looking at it.
Yeah, it requires
it
requires attention, and by all means, it demands it because it's good. Gennady Tartakovsky.
Tartakovsky?
I
think so.
How is it? You enjoying it?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's visual storytelling. It's it's quite good at all the stuff that Samurai Jack was good at. It's a bit more violent than it, but and by a bit I mean a lot.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Is he working on any feature stuff? Like he got stuck in Hotel Transylvania land for a while.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
They announced the studio behind the upcoming Avatar.
Live action?
Not Cameron. Avatar.
Right. Airbender.
Yes. Although it hasn't been Airbender for a while, but yeah. The studio, I think, that did the last TMNT stuff and something else.
Wait, live action stuff?
No, like they're doing
more animated.
Yeah, they're doing at least 2 or 3 new. Are they going to be films? Actually, I can't remember.
Okay.
There's new animated Avatar stuff coming from, and it's coming from. So after the 2 creators walked away from the Netflix show, they set up Avatar Studios, and they've announced, I think, was it 3 or 5 projects, and I think they can't remember now. It's either 3 or 5, and potentially 3 of them are movies about 3 previous avatars that we have kind of been introduced to before. So it'll be kind of a feature length stuff about, I think it's Kyoshi and
oh yeah, I think I do remember
which
some
ones,
of this.
but so they've announced which studio is animating them, and it isn't Studio Mir, which is a shame because they're awesome. But we'll see.
Andor was class this week.
I'm still trying to get into it.
Okay.
Oh God, I just can't get.
That's fair.
Just can't.
If it's not for you, it's not for you.
I won't give up on it because I haven't even stayed with an episode long enough to know whether I dislike it. So long as I haven't decided I don't dislike it, I'll keep giving it.
I heard somebody say that it's one of the first Star Wars shows to like not be using the volume, or not as extensively using it. So like they're actually going out onto locations, and it like
I don't think that's anything's biggest problem.
No, I know, but I definitely think watching this, part of what I'm responding to is like, it actually feels like there's stuck up a fucking, like, looks like an Irish or a Scandinavian mountain in the grass and the rain, and it's got that sort of just scope, distance, draw distance, you know. I think it looks great and it feels good. I know it's a a sci-fi movie trick or trope to like, you know, just stick people walking through like service areas of places, and it feels futury because people don't know what those areas look like. So there's a couple of shots even in the pilot where Diego Luna is he's walking he's walking around the sort of commercial district, and it's like these are just these sort of brutalist concrete areas around whatever city you're in that time. Like Gattaca did a lot of that as well, and like In Time and that sort of stuff, just using more industrialized areas to sell sci-fi. But you know, there's something real, or it feels real to it. But couple that with like there's so much money going into the visual effects stuff as well. Like the flying around Coruscant looks great. You know, there's an escape sequence through a meteor storm in the most recent episode, and you know, the whole selling point of that meteor storm is it's an attraction for the people on that planet, because it just becomes this sort of rainbow kaleidoscopic visual, kind of like Aurora Borealis for them, and they escape through it, and it looks great. It looks amazing. It's a great sequence, and Luna's character being like, you know, he's a response in many ways to the muting of Han Solo, the Han shot first stuff. Cassian Andor shoots first, and they did it in Rogue One, and they've done it in this a few times as well. Like, he is not afraid to kill a motherfucker before he has a chance to react, you know. And that was one of the things I loved about Han Solo, and that's one of those things that, like, it became a fucking, you know, kind of pathetic rallying cry to, like, say Han shot first. But, like, at the same time, it was something that made that world real and dangerous, was that our heroes would do something we consider dishonorable. But there's a great sense of tension in the show, for me anyway. Skarsgård's character, the woman playing Mon Mothma, the intrigue, or the subterfuges. I can't remember her name. Who is she? Do you know her?
Yeah.
Go on.
No.
No, to prove you know. Like, don't just give me shit for
I
not knowing.
And I know, and you should know.
I know Stellan Skarsgård because he's been around for 40 fucking years and things. I don't know.
This lady hasn't been around?
I don't know. And if she has, she's probably been in very good dramas that I'm not watching because there's not an alien.
Aidan. There's a reason you shouldn't know this person.
There's a reason I shouldn't know this person.
Should know this person.
Is it just simply the Irishness?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
You can't be like, oh, Skarsgård's so good, and that woman.
Genevieve O'Reilly.
What?
Playing Mon Mothma. Do you know who Genevieve O'Reilly is? Stop laughing at me as if you know her from her fucking extensive film career. I mean, I know you're thinking of Fiona Shaw.
This is all great.
I mean, you can cut it wherever you want, but it's like...
I'm not editing this one. You dropped that on me.
What do you mean?
You can't just say that now. You gotta give me a warning.
Last
week,
I know.
I offered, but then you said as we started recording, I'm recording this one, so you can edit it. No, that's not how this works.
Okay, all right. So we'll cut the video bit. Genevieve O'Reilly.
There you go.
But why? Like,
because you can't just be like, oh, some woman.
I said the woman playing. Like, that's the only way you can use the language if I don't know the person's name. The woman playing Mon Mothma is great.
You can't pause for seconds to, you know, extend your fingers to where your keyboard is.
I don't like the clickety-clack noise in the recording, because then I'd have to edit it out. Well, okay, look. Whether or not it was rude that I didn't have Genevieve O'Reilly's name to hand, are you familiar with her as an actress to the point that you know her?
Nah.
Back catalog. Okay, well, man, motherfucker. Okay.
My point still stands.
I mean, we could have just rolled right past it and just let the bit land, which was she's doing great.
This is funny.
I'm enjoying her immensely. She's doing a great job.
You're enjoying her immensely and you don't even know her name.
That's most actors that I watch. I don't know any of the names of anybody in The Bear.
That's
great
not true.
show.
That's not true. Because
Well,
you
the
just said
cameo people.
Skarsgård. You just said Skarsgård.
I'm talking about. I said the bear there.
I know, but it's not true that you don't know the names of any of the people.
I called him Gail Garcia Bernal.
That's an easy mistake to make. They're always together. They've both had projects, around the same time on Disney Plus. I let you off that one.
Okay.
They're buddies.
Okay. I'm enjoying Andor, and it got to a point as well where there's like a few episodes left. I'm like, oh, okay, let's see what happens next. Bunch of Irish people in it. Lower Decks was fun. I finished watching Deep Space Nine. I like Star Trek. Now we've hit all the points that we hit.
I finally got around to watching season 4 of Veronica Mars.
Oh, okay. I never watched an episode of that.
It's great, and I had been wanting to rewatch it, and then just last week they added the first 3 seasons to Prime. So
Okay.
I think you and Kevin should watch it, and we should talk about it at some point. Really enjoy it, and they did a 4th season. They did a kind of revival in 2019.
Did they do like a crowdfunded movie, or did they?
They did a crowdfunded movie between. Yeah, that was one of the earlier kind of crowdfunded Kickstarter film funded. That was 2014, I think.
Okay.
So I think the show finished. I think season 1 was 2004, and I think probably had a season a year. So it did 3 seasons. That probably brought them up to around 2007, 2008. And the 3rd season ends kind of abruptly.
Right.
So then it's 6 years later when the film comes out, and it addresses some of. Actually, it does it even properly. It addresses some of the stuff that happens at the end of the 3rd season, but it drops some of the planned storylines. It's okay. It's kind of like an episode of the show. And then 5 years later, we got the season 4, and I mean the kind of show's not selling point, but kind of, kind of high concept pitch is that it's a film noir set in a high school, and this is before Brick. I think it was about a year or 2 before Brick. So yeah, it's a teenage girl. It's film noir kind of vibe, but set in a high school. And then in the 3rd season, by the time it's in the 3rd season, she's in university. So when it's, when they came back for the 4th season, she is, all grown up. So it's kind of lost that angle, but it was interesting still. Because the other element of it is she's in a school where there's a very clear social divide. It's in this fictional town in California. It's sort of like kind of like Santa Barbara or kind of Orange County. So the idea is that at this public school, the students are either the sons and daughters of actors and software billionaires, or they are the sons and daughters of the people who work for the kind of. So there's really kind of no middle class in
It's a hierarchy.
So yeah, even though it loses the kind of school angle, it still is this angle of you've got this town where there's this kind of big divide between the working class and the upper class. And it was 8 episodes, and I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
So maybe
I like the idea that they've established a character there, and now they've established a kind of pattern where it's like, let's come back every few years and just do a few episodes, and like we can follow a person through their, like, I mean, I guess we saw that with Murder, She Wrote as well. Like that, she made those things forever. Same with Columbo.
Yeah. There's so many people
Poirot movies with David Suchet. Like the last one of those he did, he's fucking like he plays Poirot towards the end of his life. Like not that David Suchet's there, but like it's nice to get that like arc of lifespan of a person or a character.
Yeah, and I think they end the season in
David
such a
Suchet
way
and the woman who played his assistant.
They end the season in such a way that we might never come back to her, and you kind of know where her story would end, or they've left room to come back. But a lot of it is down to the fact that she's much more successful now and much busier now than she was when they started the show. So it'll be interesting to see if they ever do come back. I don't think they will, but it was a nice, if that's where they leave it, I think it was a good send off for the character. There's so many people in the first season and second season that kind of just get their start. Like Tessa Thompson's in it, Armie Hammer's in it, Paul Rudd's in it by the third season, and he was already, he
was already Paul Rudd, but he Paul Rudd leveled up a bit.
Yeah, Michael Cera, Alia Shawkat, they're both in it.
That's like, I've got to check back in with it, but I really like Alia Shawkat.
Alia Shawkat and Michael Cera are in the same episode.
I really like Alia Shawkat, and that Search Party show.
It's great.
I'm so surprised that show, like, I guess it must have an audience, but it's like, I remember when it was like season 1 and it felt like it was like dying on its ass in terms of viewership. And then I check back and it's like season 5, we're finishing it. And it's like, wow, that thing just kept going, didn't it?
She's in The Old Man as well.
What was the name of the movie she'd made in Ireland?
I can't remember.
Animals or something? Or
something like that.
It wasn't Nocturnal Animals, because that came out around the same time, but it was something
to do with like savages or animals.
Yeah, something to do with the sort of the nightlife of Dublin, which was kind of like, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it from a standpoint of like Irish cinema, where it's like, we did it, lads. We made a film. It's a bit wobbly, but we all had fun, we all had nice ideas and we did our best to execute them.
She plays a very different type of character in The Old Man as well. Something I'm not used to seeing her do. Yeah, she's great though. I mean, she's a great actress. So check out The Old Man also.
Oh, you keep telling me I must. Yeah. No, at this point when I turn on Disney Plus. At this point, when I turn on Disney Plus, it's right next to The Bear. So I'm going to go down after this podcast and I was going to say get some comfort food, but I don't think we have anything in the house. I went down this morning and faced with the fact that we don't have eggs, we don't have milk, no cereal.
So you just get that stuff delivered anyway.
I just don't. Stop it. I ran out of the coffee that I normally use for.
Aldi deliver on Deliveroo now, don't they?
Do they? What?
They do, I think. Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
I ran out of coffee for my mocha pot.
I just get your butler to do it.
Got some French press coffee, and in a pinch, what I've done in the past is like because my French press broke, and like the glass thing. Don't let me just paint myself as a monster before you make fun of me for having problems, right? My solution was to make the coffee in like a glass and then like use a fucking tea towel as a filter to just like strain it into.
I thought you did that by like mistake or something, that you weren't paying attention. I didn't realize that you actually intentionally.
No, it's me trying to jerry rig a situation.
MacGyver.
And I managed to dig out.
MacGyver, you are not. That's not true. You're pretty.
I managed to dig out an actual sieve this morning, and make the coffee again in a messy fucking way over like a bowl. But I got a cup of coffee out of it, and actually using a sieve. And then drinking that same coffee really highlighted how much the cup of coffee I had the day before tasted like tea towel. Tasted like moldy fabric.
Tell me you didn't drink all of it. Tell me you threw it out after.
I drank the entire thing. Yeah. I was there for the caffeine and the heat.
This is why I make fun of you.
It was fucking rotten. And especially going, this same coffee tastes grand now. Just highlighted how much I was just drinking the fibers of that tea towel.
How much of a degenerate you are.
I will survive. I'm a very low level version of Werner Herzog and Jack Reacher.
I need coffee. I will sip it through a dirty tea towel if necessary.
Always the same decision. I never understand. I might just go downstairs and watch Jack Reacher.
It's back on Netflix.
That guy's on something, right?
He's on something, and he's not better than Cruise. He's
Alan
just
Alan
not.
Richmond
Richson.
Richson.
Richson. He's preposterously big.
He's like, oh, I walk around at 205. I put on 30 pounds
Like
in the space of 6 months, and now he's touting putting on another 5 or something for season 2.
And like the thing is,
in his late 30s.
Lee Child kind of said, and whether it was just because Cruz is now playing the character, he's like, Reacher's size is always supposed to be a metaphor. It's always supposed to create a picture in your head of an unstoppable force. And what better way to do that by just insisting on how massive the guy is.
Yeah.
But he's also a hobo. He's a drifter. You know, and I believe Tom Cruise being a force of nature and a kind of an unstoppable, like, fucking pit bull with a bone that, you know, you've pissed me off now and I'm not dropping this. I'm going to beat you to death. And he doesn't need to be a big person to do it, because I just believe that he's pissed off enough to kind of do this.
We've all met people with an energy far above their size, where you're just like, something about the way this guy just walked in, fucking said what he said means I'm not one.
It doesn't work for me when the guy's wearing t-shirts that are as big as he is. His t-shirts are too small for him. You know, he looks like a fucking Abercrombie model or something like that, and it's stupid. And now the fact that he's preposterously this size, it's like Reacher wouldn't look like that. Reacher would look, if anything, he'd be kind of like Bale in Batman Begins, just like bulky. And then Bale kind of specifically said he didn't want to look like an underwear model. He just wanted to be this.
Yeah,
and like, he's in great shape, but he's bulky.
People that work security aren't necessarily fucking aesthetic. Yeah. They're effective.
Yeah. And this, like, he looks great. He looks fantastic, but this idea as well that he's doing it all fucking naturally and stuff, it's nonsense.
Okay, what did he say? He walks around 205 or something?
I can't remember. I only heard that he'd gone up to 245 or something.
Okay, I've been working out for 18 months with creatine, consistently eating well. I'm 215, and I've got body fat on me, and I'm kind of on top of my shit here. So what am I missing?
Yeah.
Well, I've been on top of my shit for about...
I do think you need another 40 grams of protein. I did the numbers.
Okay. I'll look into it. But, like, you know...
No, see, I was like, no jokes.
But that's for, like, growth, right? Like...
Yeah. Well, you could do it... That'd be... that wouldn't just be a bulk requiring a cut. That would be... That if you were doing that right in training, 3-4 times, that it would be slow. Yeah, but it would be a kind of a lean.
I've got a focused program. I'm in 4 to 6 times a week.
Yeah, and
I'm eating like a fucking horse.
McElhenney has already pretty much said it. You know, he's been as black and white about it without really saying it. But he's like, you have these doctors. You go to them and they
give you vitamins.
Give you what you need. Yeah.
Yeah. They take your blood work, they look at where your hormones are or not optimal, and they supplement that. Yeah. Cool. This is as Rogan-y as our podcast gets, but where do I get that doctor in Ireland?
You don't. Just like I said, increase your protein. You're doing great. I guarantee.
I actually also... Like, I fit into my clothes at the moment. I don't want to have to buy new clothes because I've gotten bigger. So that's
Richard doesn't fit into his clothes, like I said. Yeah. There's a scene. I really kind of dropped off Reacher towards the end because it just got a bit samey and it got a bit.
It slightly got kind of like NCIS-y.
Yeah. Oh, very much. Yeah. Like it's, and then that's the thing. Like there's an entire genre of the special detective, and Veronica Mars is that. And one of the reasons I like it so much is that the writing and characters in Veronica Mars are so good. The mystery in each episode, even though it's very often, there's an overarching one, which in season 1 is the death of her friend who murdered her friend. A lot of the other mysteries are just stuff like high school students coming to her with problems, and they're still infinitely more interesting than anything that you'd get, even in something like Bosch, which is kind of better than the NCISs and the CISs and stuff. But Yeah, it's that detective with a twist thing, and Veronica Mars is, again, so much better than the Reacher show. Because, yeah, towards the end of it, it just got a bit stupid. But there was a scene at one point where they're in a different city for some reason, and he's got to change his clothes or something, and he goes into a thrift shop and he buys a bunch of t-shirts, and the t-shirt he puts on, like, it's this low kind of...
I think they get it out of like a charity bin or something, is it?
Yeah,
or,
and it's just, he looks stupid. Not, and he doesn't look stupid, but Reacher, the idea of Reacher wearing it, and looking like an underwear model, it's just like, no, he's supposed to be... Yeah, it's like when Cruz is wearing it, like it's that shirt, that jacket. It's
Yeah, it's funny. Like they do it a couple of times.
He's a drifter.
In the movie, the idea that he just has one shirt and one pair of pants, and it just slings on and he gets on with his fucking day, is I don't know. They just made too much of it. We're rehashing a show that we actually enjoyed, so. I
said, I enjoyed half of it. It lost me.
I just get slightly annoyed that we're getting. I get slightly. I don't even know. That we're getting a lot of promo around the fucking muscle building on the guy, and I'm like, there's no fucking way that you're not doing the things that celebrities do. So just fucking say that, And
like this guy, he's always been big. Like he's in Titans. He plays Hawk.
Yeah,
in Titans.
Hawk and
He's a big guy. He doesn't need to get any bigger, Yeah.
The Liver King.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he started popping up on a couple of podcasts, and like I listened to Bert Kreischer's podcast. I enjoy him. I find him to be the lovable dope of that group of, slightly dickish comics. But I was going, God, this guy feels like a fucking snake oil salesman, and I hate his energy, the Liver King guy. Like, why is he now on these podcasts? Because I feel like they should hate this guy. Like, everything I know about Bert, like, this guy shouldn't be, like, this guy should kind of be a punchline. Even if he's willing to have a conversation with the guy, like, you should walk away from going, this is fucked up. This guy's fucking weird. It's not, it's odd anyway, And then halfway through the fucking episode, he went, this podcast is brought to you by Liver King. It's like, oh, there we go. He sponsored the episode. He's selling us supplements or whatever the fuck he's doing. And it's like, that's a guy who's like, nope, I've never done any hormone or steroid use thing. And this, like, again, he's insisting, yeah, I've worked out my entire life. And it's like, that's grand. But look at you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're that's bollocks.
Yep.
It's just bollocks. And not only, like, when I was a kid, I remember the idea of like steroids as this demonized fucking thing, in the same way that Ireland and probably a lot of the world demonized a lot of drugs anyway. And my understanding as I've got older has kind of softened on a lot of that. And like, it's not great, and it probably leads to problems. And if you do it wrong, you can have like bad skin and X, Y, and Z and whatever. But if people do a cycle or whatever, like, it's not going to kill you. But also, then just fucking say you did a cycle. Like, oh, I've been working out my entire life. Yeah, and you did 3 cycles of steroids when you were 20 and put on all of that fucking mass, and now you're kind of maintaining it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know.
No, like, even I won't say any names because I'm not 100% certain about it, but like, there's a few people I've seen on Instagram that are their selling point, and they're not really selling anything, but their unique, their differentiating thing on their posts and stuff is their age and their ability kind of for their age. So they're in their 50s and they're in incredible shape, and they live a very natural looking shape. But then you find out that when they were in their 20s or 30s, they were in, like, whether it was a Mr. Olympia or something. So they were not natural bodybuilders, just no chance. And it's like, yeah, it's very impressive you're doing stuff in your 50s and you're in this incredible shape, but you didn't get like that naturally. It's like, it's as you said, they got into this shape, which is,
they laid a foundation. They used the tools available, and they laid a foundation. And
I don't know if this guy's ever denied that, so I kind of won't say anything, but every one of their posts is kind of like doing this thing, and it's kind of all functional and mobile, and they look great, and they're 50 something. I have never said that. I will neither confirm nor deny. You know, they were not a natural bodybuilder, and like I said, I don't know if they've never even necessarily insisted that they are, but that's the impression I've gotten from their posts. Like, I'll read the caption, and they kind of, it's implied that I'm this age and I do all this kind of natural kind of stuff, and it's like, but there was a period in your youth where you certainly weren't, and maybe they've never denied that.
I have never touched anything in that regard, as evidenced by looking at me. But it is fucking funny when, like, it's so prolific now with the whole sort of like the way social media has made fitness just this thing.
I was talking to somebody recently that they were going to a physio, and their physio was telling them that they've seen a bunch of kind of teenage, kind of later, maybe, 5th or 6th year secondary school playing rugby, and they've already been through a couple of cycles of some type of PED.
And
there's teenagers playing rugby that are on steroids.
Well, because rugby also became professionalized, and it became a pathway towards.
I don't know if you remember. Life. It was the last time you were in Cork. The last time no, it wasn't last time. It wasn't when you were here with Chris. It was back in March, I think.
Yeah.
But it was one of the nights we went out, and like, you're big, Paddy's big, and we were getting pizza, and there was 2 guys in the queue that were slightly taller than you, but maybe not as tall as Paddy, but they were just so much bigger than either of you. And they were in their kind of early or mid 20s, and they clearly,
yeah,
they were an unnatural size, and you don't get that big just by lifting. These guys were like scaled up, and they weren't particularly muscular, but they were just. But
there's
big.
Do
you remember those 2 guys?
Density to them. I don't specifically remember those 2, but even like the stand-up gig I did in Bray on Wednesday, like it's a weird little room. It's got a like subdivision down it, and like it's like the upstairs on a, like, I don't know, like a gabled roof upstairs, and there's a wall in the middle where the chimney is. So one half of it is watching the show on a projector, but that's kind of where the comics congregate. And I walked through into the other room, got up the front, got to the microphone, and there was like 12 lads around little tables in the front, and they were just fucking walls. Every one of them was just like a brick shithouse, but they all looked 20, like just like college age-ish. They didn't have the like. They didn't smack at children, and they weren't like grown ass dudes either. So it had that, and it's just like, wow, this is just like, and yeah, it's prolific, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Like. Big builds on the boys, on the boyos, and they were good as well. Actually, I was kind of surprised by the behavior as well. Like, they were like real good vibes off of them, which was like cool. I was prepared for like a rugby team being a bunch of dickheads or something, but what's the point of any of this? The disingenuous nature of
he's too
people
big.
Selling it. I remember being very telling that, like, there's a lovely photo of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone in hospital beds together having heart surgery. Because they were the most visible proponents of, physical fitness feels harsh to say, but like physical fitness or body as product, and just knowing there's no way there weren't steroids in the 70s, and like these guys did whatever the fuck they could do to get the size they needed, and they're paying for it now. Like, I'm sure Columbo and all of these other sort of era bodybuilders as well. Not that heart disease isn't just a thing among people anyway, but these bodybuilders getting anyway. Weird.
If you're getting massive, just don't lie about it.
And it's unfucking sustainable as well. Like, it's unsustainable. Like, I know that when we talked about Reacher the last time, we were like, some people are just big, but I'm like, Grant.
And he, like I said, he is a big guy, but
he's supposed to be a vagabond walking across America, and I am in a fixed location day in, day out, and I'm having trouble eating the food I need.
Yeah, and he also does, like, he eats a lot, and he probably eats a lot of protein, but he doesn't eat healthily, like, because he's eating in diners all the time. So it's bacon, eggs, coffee, all the time.
Sure.
But he should look more like a tall Ron Swanson as opposed to underwear model,
Yeah. Oh God. Now I want to see Ron Swanson. I want to see Nick Offerman do.
You believe him
bit.
at any size do Reacher,
I believe him as Reacher in Parks and Rec. He just walks into rooms and says, "You're going to want to sit down, son." It's like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
Oh God, I love Nick Offerman, and I love I love knowing that he trained in Kabuki theater and then watching him work his face.
Yeah. You haven't watched Devs yet?
No. Too much TV.
It's almost like I recommend stuff.
No, you're not wrong. It's there. Is there anything on Apple TV worth watching? Severance is on there, right?
Severance is on there. I've heard the morning show's good, but I haven't seen it.
Because I got tricked into paying $4.99, and now I've had it for 2 months, and I haven't watched fucking anything. I need to cancel
Severance and the morning show.
3 seasons of C with Jason Momoa.
I can't believe that's still going.
I can't believe that's still going. That was a joke when it was a trailer.
Yeah.
That felt SNL sketch then,
Yeah.
I really like Apple's, like, on my TV downstairs, I like the interface of the app. I like the feel of navigating around it, but I keep opening it and going,
nah.
I don't want to watch anything here. There's nothing I want to watch. Cancel that shit.
You're going to go see Black Adam? I really had no intention of seeing it, but then I saw Pearce Brosnan do a few interviews, and I was like, I kind of want to see it to support Pearce Brosnan.
I like Pearce.
But I'm not a fan of The Rock at all. So, yeah.
I would have been a fan of The Rock. But there's something about this movie and the way that he's walked into the marketing of it.
Yep.
And he kind of, like, it was funny when he did it in Fast and the Furious, when he sort of went, hey, like, they bring me in to save franchises. And I was like, that was kind of funny because I just had no fucking respect for the Fast and Furious movies, really, But when you're coming into the sort of the superhero world, the DC world that's had Nolan, and it's had the Joker, it's had the Tim Burton Batmans, and it's had Christopher Reeves, when it's had Richard Donner, like, whether or not we have issues with Snyder's superhero movies, like the Wonder Woman movie is good, that Aquaman movie is fun, if not good, to be walking into it going, hey, I'm the most powerful person on the planet, like, I'm changing the whole dynamic in the fucking universe. It's like, you're a fucking asterisk of a character in 60 years of comic books. Like, Black Adam he's there, but, like, nobody's favorite character is Black Adam.
But I mean, the thing is, he could insist that the character is as important as he's saying, and then make it that important,
Oh, I mean, yeah, like, he can,
because but I mean, what he's pushing for is a film where the Suicide Squad and the Justice League have to team up to take him down. And people would love that. They would eat that up. If they insist that, like, he might not be that big a threat in the comics, but if they say he is in the films, then he is in the films. And that could work. Whether or not it'll happen, but that's what he's pushing for. He's pitched a film where the Suicide Squad and the Justice League have to take him down. And they make him this Thanos type level threat,
but that's what I was about to say. He's forcing a Thanos on us.
Exactly. He's insisting that.
So but that's the same shit that DC has always had as a problem post Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is they're trying to force the saga rather than just letting it grow. They just force us to Darkseid. They force us to, I can't even remember the name of the fucking character Kieran Hines played. Was it Gilgamesh, Steppenwolf? They're just forcing these people into our fucking cinemas, and like Thanos became a threat because he lurked for fucking 15
and
films.
he's also that size of a threat in the books. So there's, it can.
And Darkseid could have been that, but they just pissed through it.
That's the kind of funny thing is that in the comics it's always been, there's a man thing and there's a swamp thing. There's always, some parallel. There's been no shame in copying.
Parallel, yeah.
There's ants and there's a bug it's happened in Hollywood all the time. These people have fucking lunches together. They know what they're making. So they go, they're making that thing over there, we're going to make the same thing. So when the MCU did what it did and it worked, why didn't they just copy it? It's just impatience. There's the blueprint. Let's copy it.
Because nobody wanted, just guessing, but I don't think there's anybody in Warner's, because that's where those films are coming from.
But that's all the more reason to. But that's all the more reason to copy it, But
they would need to install somebody with the sense,
and rather than rush and go, okay, well let's go straight to Batman versus Superman. Whereas talking about like trying to squeeze content out of your, intellectual properties. Why did they go straight to from Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, where they put 3 characters in there, straight to a Justice League? Why didn't they again, do the Iron Man, do the Thor, do the Captain Marvel? Because wring more films out of it while establishing this other thing. They jumped straight to.
It didn't make a lick of sense,
especially when, as well, supposedly Feige greenlit Civil War when he heard Warner Brothers was doing Batman v Superman. And those films have very similar plots. So Marvel even kind of saw, they're doing that because I think they had pitched Civil War to Feige and he said no. But then when he heard they were doing Batman v Superman, he was like, okay, well, let's do Iron Man v Captain America. So,
but you see, the thing is, there's, and you're right, but there is a Civil War arc in the comics.
Yep.
Around Tony and Captain America. Where's the Batman versus Superman arc? I know we've got the Dark Knight Returns where they beat each other up, but they don't do that in the movie. When you read the Dark Knight Returns, it's an older Batman. We have, as a reader, the weight of knowledge of all the comic books that came before it, and the way that Batman talks about Clark in that book as being, the ultimate Boy Scout, that when these accords came in and when these new rules and regulations, he flocked to the side of law and order, and he stayed and he worked with the government and became this sort of shill and let his morals degrade by degree over time. He got chipped away into becoming this sort of errand boy. And there's no semblance of that in Batman versus Superman. There's just, let's make the two dudes hit each other.
I mean, the question was, are you going to see it?
Am I going to see it?
It's out at the end of the month, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I
really had no intention of it, but like I said, I saw Pearce Brosnan on Seth Meyers, and he said something to the effect of, he's kind of done Bond, he's done all this other stuff. I think Myers asked him, were you familiar with the character? He's like, my sons had told me about the character, and he was saying, I always wondered, were these people, meaning Marvel and DC, were they ever going to give me a call? Was I ever going to get my turn in one of these kind of franchises? He's like, and then they called me and I'm in this, and I was like, oh. That's my only reason to maybe want to see it.
But it's also it's like being in a fucking Sony Spider-Man movie at this point. It's like you're in the bad.
You're in the bad one.
Sorry, Pearce.
You're in the
bad
knockoff.
one.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about the character? Nobody knows anything about Dr. Fate.
Apparently his sons told him.
Get fucked. His sons are not reading Dr. Fate books.
Hey, they don't have to read the books. I know about him from Justice League Unlimited, and
But he's
Young Titan or Young Justice. So I mean, they could have told him through that. It doesn't have to be
Sure.
books. It doesn't
Sure,
have to be books.
but no, I'm not being like gatekeepy around it. I'm just saying
You
that,
are
like,
a little bit.
I don't know. I'm saying I don't think that this character has been embraced by the world
He doesn't need to be
to the
though.
point that people,
Like Doctor Strange wasn't either. You know.
but to the point that your character, to the point that you could ask your kids, "Hey, do you know and like this character? Should I do this?" It's like your kids,
But they might know him from.
they might go,
Young
"We know he
Justice.
exists."
They might know him from Young Justice.
Okay, it's fair.
They might.
Yeah. Sorry,
Or maybe
Pearce.
they're
Okay, who do we cast Pearce as in the MCU? Like, let's redeem him. We love Pearce Brosnan, the man from Navan. A man named Taffin. Maybe you shouldn't be living here. Did you see the footage of the guy? Is it called Live Wire? It was a clip going around of Pearce Brosnan pushing a clown in a wheelchair.
I saw
and
that
then
film.
exploded.
That was one of the ones we rented. I think I mentioned the guy who used to drive around and let you
Yeah.
rent VHSs from the back of his car and you could keep them for a week. That was one of the ones we rented. So I've seen it more than
I feel
once
like I
'cause
have
we had
to
the tape
watch
for a
it.
week.
I feel like I should
You don't.
definitely watch it. I've missed a part of Brosnan history. Who does an older Pearce Brosnan play in the MCU at this point? Do we get him into the X-Men world of things? Like, he doesn't quite have the Shakespearean thing that McKellen brought to Magneto. The sort of stoicism. I think he's got a bit more tongue in cheek than.
You see, we don't really know what's kind of coming up. We don't really know what roles there are.
Is there a
that he-
kind of Thomas Crown, like a sort of older adventurer?
I was thinking if they do something in the Midnight Suns side of stuff, he could be a good fit there. Particularly if that involves Elsa Bloodstone. Given that she's played by an Irish actress now, that, you know, maybe he'd be a kind of a... Yeah.
I thought it was Christian Ritter.
And her name is